I hope it's okay to come on and explain a little about myself and explain why you are greeted with wiggling hands during my tutorials. This is a very rare occasion where you will see me warts and all, as they say, but don't get used to it because the next tutorial I'll be back to hands only. Please be patient with me because I am actually reading this from a printout, so I get facts and times and things right. A number of years ago now, I lost my hearing in my right ear, and because I was only 50 at the time, it was recommended that I have an MRI scan, which ultimately led to the diagnosis of a brain tumour. This brain tumour is called an acoustic neuroma, or otherwise known as a Schwanoma. Both are principally the same thing. I was diagnosed with the acoustic neuroma because of that area that affects the hearing, and after the surgery, when the facial nerves had been affected, the surgeon said that it was now known as a schwannoma. Some doctors say they are both exactly the same, but given they have different names and affect different areas, I'm inclined to agree with the surgeons involved and agree they are different. Whichever one it is, it was to change my life in such a way it was never going to be the same again. I was given the option of 1. Surgery to remove the tumour, 2. Radiotherapy to hopefully stunt its growth, or 3. To leave it as it was for the foreseeable future. After in-depth discussions with hubby and because of my age, I opted for the surgery because we felt I would be able to cope with the aftermath easier than I would when I was older. As it turned out, during the surgery, the surgeon decided that the actual surgery removing the tumour was interfering with the facial muscle too much, and therefore they only managed to get 95% of it out. I frantically searched the internet. My consultant said only take notice of the NHS website, but you know as well as I do, we all search other sites anyway, even if we don't take them seriously. I stumbled across a gentleman that had the same diagnosis as I did, and he kept a daily diary all the way through from his diagnosis onwards, and it made for good, if not frightening, reading. But I read every single page, and the fact that he survived gave me hope. I was reassured by the surgeon that the recovery rate was excellent and was booked into the now non-existent French A hospital to have the surgery. Two things to note here is that the NHS do not hang around when something serious is wrong, and secondly, my life was never going to be the same again. I was told with the acoustic neuroma diagnosis the recovery was just 6 weeks, but after the surgery, when the Schwanoma tumour was mentioned, the recovery was then changed to a considerably longer time. My biggest problem was the fact that the nerves were damaged during the surgery, which left me with what I call a wonky face, medically a palsy effect, slanted to one side. Things don't work as they should do, and this will not change for me ever, and I needed to learn to live with this disfigurement. But more alarming was the horrific pain in my head I was left with. It was and is always difficult to explain. It's not a headache, it's a pain in the head. I can pinpoint exactly where the pain is, and it's where the nerves were damaged. The surgeon explained that unlike electric sockets, the nerves are not colour-coded, so they'd done the best they could with my rewiring. So for example, I can only smile on one side, and if I try to wink, then I smile on the other side. It's all such a muddle. I suffered my pain in the head for 18 months and was on lots of meds to control the pain. My balance was shot and I had what I can only describe as metal mouth, where I could not taste any food whatsoever, but I did discover that I could taste wine gums, and no kidding, that's what I lived on for many, many months. Even with the meds I was taking, I still suffered greatly from the pain in my head, and one day someone happened to give me a tablet to try. I know we shouldn't take other people's meds, but desperation makes you take chances you wouldn't otherwise take. And this pill was one you take alongside pain meds as a relaxant, and lo and behold, the pain in my head vanished from that very day. After getting my doctor to prescribe, Lord help anyone that tries to take those off of me. My husband took early retirement to take care of me, but kept his little part-time job on. But there's no way I could return to work full-time or any time due to the of unpredictability of my health issues. Added to other health problems, I was at a crossroads in my life. I decided to take up a craft I had dabbled with a few years prior. That was 3D decoupage. It was something I could do sitting down, and by using sheets of wrapping paper instead of buying specific product sheets, I was able to keep the expenses down, and it gave me something to do. That's where my love of craft really started, and here I am many years later, and I still love making every card I make. Yes, I was taught to knit and sew as a teenager, but once the children were grown up, these crafts were not used anymore at home. I still have health issues when added together. My crafting time is limited and sporadic depending on that day, but I still manage to make my cards. The last voluntary position I held was teaching elderly people in their homes to make use of PCs and personal tablets to reach out to the many media platforms and make their world appear smaller and make them new friends. But this council-run scheme came to an end, and I expanded my crafting to make mainly cards. I've entered my makes to lots of craft magazines and have made the letters page over 20 times now. In fact, a bit of bragging here, I actually framed the front cover and the letters page for each one. I have entered the Card Maker of the Year for the third and definitely the final time this year, 2023. My age is against me, and certainly my style of crafting, I think, is against me too. I just cannot cope with the mixed media process and really dislike trying the method out, although I am persevering with stamping. So for the future, it will hopefully be more letters pages and continuing to donate surplus finished cards at the end of each year to a local children's hospice to raise some much needed funds for them. The future. The tumour is benign but will continue to grow and needs regular MRI scans, which to date show insignificant growth for any concern. Because of my balance issues, I will always need walking aids, and due to other health issues, I can only stand for very short times anyway. I have been doing my YouTube tutorials for a few months now and are well on the way to reaching 1,000 subscribers, which for a new channel is pretty good by all accounts. So you can expect more tutorials, more handshaking, and definitely more card designs from me. Happy crafting!